Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing unfortunately it's going to be the last, the video of the last Sharknado movie, which is Sharknado 6. The last Sharknado is About Time. That's the actual title of Sharknado 6 is the last Sharknado, It's About Time. Because this one brings back, unfortunately, like I said, it's going to be the last, what I understand, it's going to be the last film of this series. And brings back probably the whole original cast and maybe some other members from Sharknado 2 into this film. Because it stars Ian Ziering, Tara Reid, Cassandra Sesbro, who was like a major high, or I consider the major high in the Sharknado series. It also has Rico A. Fox, who was allegedly killed off in the second movie, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Plus another actor who was in the second one, who had the famous line, "Nobody messes with the myth found in the cemetery." He gets it. He comes back from the dead, which is kind of, kills the whole franchise, really, which we're going to get into in the actual plot. Well, the plot for Sharknado 6 is it picks up right where the fifth one left off. And, of course, this one starts off as a spoof of the Back to the Future movies. Because of the time travel thing. And it's kind of similar to what they did in the fifth one when they go through the vortex and other Sharknado, and it drops them off at various points of the world and try to figure out when's the next Sharknado is going to hit, so they can save the sun from, and try to pull the sun out of the vortex of the Sharknados. With this one, actually Finn, remember Ian Ziering, and his gang of shark hunters goes back in time to the prehistoric, to the dinosaur time, to stop the first shark, what is considered the, some of you hear that this the airplane's going to the Hawaii, is flying over my house, my apartment, so if you hear those engines, that's what it is. So Finn and his team of shark hunters go back in time to stop what is considered the first Sharknado, and if they stop it, eventually stop the Sharknados in the past, it won't destroy the whole world. Because at the end of the fifth movie, all the Sharknados destroyed the whole world, leaving Finn the only human left. So for some reason, all the other characters come back to life, and they explain it in a crazy bullshit way. And that's before the character dies. Like Tara Reid, if you remember at the end of, I think it was the end of the third movie, when the space shuttle or regular space shuttle lands on her. Well, she does, quote, die, and she gets pulled out of that for this time warp. She gets saved by the son Gil, or the youngest son Gil, and then she gets transported into the past, waiting for Finn to get there, so he can stop the Sharknados from to stop that, her death to not happen in that moment in the Sharknado franchise. So not only does it happen to her, it also happens to Nova, the Cassandra Nova, who was considered the hottie in here. Because in the first movie, she was in a bikini, and of course she was gorgeous. I mean, I actually have a crush on her because I think she was so hot. When she was in the fifth movie, she dies. But the same thing happens to her. She gets zapped out of that just before the death happens into the past as well. And the same thing with the guy from the second movie, who I just mentioned, who says the line, "Nobody messes with the meth found on the 7 train" in the second movie. He also gets transported out in the same, space time stuff. So all of them are going to be teaming up together to end the Sharknado. Or to stop the Sharknados. Of course, they're in the past, with all the dinosaurs, now they're fighting the dinosaurs, and they stop the Sharknado there, and they have to get back into the car and get transported into where the next Sharknado is supposed to be in the next time travel portal, where it leads him to, which happens to lead him to the American Revolution, when they meet George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Alexander Hamilton. So of course the guy who was the meth fan there, he goes, "Oh, I'm trying to get tickets for your show," and actually they had to bring up the fact that when the Hamilton Broadway show, which sucks. Okay, even though it went a bunch of Tonys, that show was horrible because they lectured Vice President Mike Pence in a performance of that show. So don't see that show, especially if you have the vote for Donald Trump. Don't see that show, Hamilton. Anyway, they fought the next Sharknado there, and they stopped it. And then by each stop, they stopped the Sharknadoes, and of course, what happens is the guy who was the meth fan, the big, novelty bath there, and he decides to stay there in the past. So what happens is they go to the next time, which happens to be the Wild West, when they meet up with, believe it or not, when they meet up with Billy the Kid, and they meet Dee Snider, who was in the rock band, in the 80s rock band Twisted Sister, and they do have a reference to that band in that particular scene in that film. And they fight out with Billy the Kid, and meanwhile they meet up with Gil, little Gil, who was supposed to be the son that Tara Reid and Ian Ziering had, or April and Finn had, back in the, I think, the third film. Yeah, it was the third film. No, he's an adult. He's in jail in the Wild West, and Billy the Kid was supposed to free him. But meanwhile, his father frees him, and they go, "Hey, let's go to," and they stop the Sharknado in the Wild West, and they use a different, and this problem is consistent. They always try to have to find a new vehicle to send them into the next, and they open up the new time pole to go to where they're supposed to be next. This time they use a train to get to where they're supposed to be next, and they transport to the 1960s in the beach where Finn meets his parents. And here's where one of the wacky cameos happen, when you have Tori Spelling playing Finn's mother. And of course, anybody who knows Tori Spelling and Ian Ziering, they both starred together on a little show back in the 90s, which you may have heard of, called Beverly Hills 90210. And both of them stayed on the show part of the whole 10-year run of the original series. And so Tori Spelling says to Ian, or to Finn, "Didn't we go to high school together?" You're doing a wink, nod moment to 90210. And Finn says, "Yeah, I think we have." And so of course they had to have a reference to Beverly Hills 90210 on that bit. So they stop the Sharknado there, and his father, of course, does all this stuff, knows or figures out as maybe his son, that Finn was his son, and because he knows stuff in the future, and the two of them getting together, and that's like really the one moment where you have a real Back to the Future reference in that particular scene for the two of them getting together and stuff, or Finn's parents getting together. And so that way he wouldn't be able to exist if his parents didn't get together right then and there, which does happen. So of course, when all this stuff is going on, Nova says, "Okay, since you met your parents and you helped them out, why don't I help my grandfather out?" Of course, anybody who knows the Nova character, and it was mentioned in the first Sharknado film, for those of you who don't pay attention to these movies, the Nova says the reason why she hated sharks and became a shark hunter throughout the rest of the movie series, of the Sharknado movie series, was because of the fact that her grandfather was eaten by a shark. She got bit by a shark, and you see the scar on her leg from the shark bite. So what happens is, let me save my grandfather, so that way I wouldn't lose him and have this hatred for sharks that I do. And so Finn says, "Look, if you do that, you change who you are as a person." And I love you. You're like family to me. like the sister I never had. And if you change the course of history, the space time, the whole space time thing, you change who you are and what you are as a person. And she thought of that, but she had like the flux capacitor. She changed it to the time before, just before the shark swallowed up her grandfather. She does save her grandfather's life, by the way. She does change history a little bit there. Then, of course, to go back, Nova and Tara Reid's characters, they both lose their lives at that moment. Even though Nova does change history, Nova gets attacked by the shark, and so does Tara Reid's character. Well, I should also mention through the whole movie that Finn has Tara Reid's severed head, a robot head, in a bag, and they use her to use laser beams coming out of her eyes to destroy the Sharknadoes, and which was really one of the craziest ass stuff. I mean, this movie was like a high stakes, crazy fun ride to the whole 2-hour movie. And then you had so Finn has the Flash companion, the time travel device, and he this time using the shark to go 88 miles an hour, just like in Back to the Future, to go to the next thing. And it turns out that he went way into the future, like about almost 1,000 years, like 20,000 years into the future. And when he meets Tara Reid as a new, like a Borg, kind of almost like a Borg queen, from Star Trek, where the robot April takes over the whole world. It's just the robot April, a whole bunch of robot Aprils here, and they keep the real April, locked up so they can have in stasis, so that they can keep the DNA. In case anything goes wrong, they can take another DNA sample and make more April robots. And the April robot, or the leader of the April robots, says, "Hey, we need your DNA too, so now we can live forever, rule the world and stuff." And that's when the whole world was pretty much destroyed from the Sharknadoes, and you had a whole big fight sequence that was going on, real crazy ass stuff. And then Finn types in a date which takes him back to the day of the very first Sharknado in the very first Sharknado movie in 2013. And the guys in the opening scene of the first Sharknado movie, not many people remember this, but it's the scene on the boat with the two guys, like drug dealers or gun dealers or something, with a bunch of money. And one of the two guys decides to help Finn destroy the Sharknadoes, and that's what, major spoiler for I know it just premiered that just last night. So then join us the next day at the world premiere of Sharknado, of the last Sharknado. And the guy in the boat, helped Finn to destroy the last Sharknado. And now the whole time paradox completely changed. Now there's no more Sharknadoes. The whole history of the Sharknado franchise has been completely changed. Kind of like in the 2009 Star Trek reboot, where it had alternate timeline, which they made no reference to it because everything's changed. Now, Finn's back with April, because actually in the original movie they were divorced. Well, about to get divorced, the Finn and April in the first movie. Now they're, they were never divorced to begin with. They're all on the board with Nova. Nova works there with them. And you had the John Hurt character, who of course John Hurt passed away. So I think they used old footage from the first movie, or footage they never used, for him to be in that scene. The only one who was not in that scene originally was Jason Simmons' character from the first movie. I don't remember seeing him in there. I didn't see him in that film, but he was not in there, but John Hurt was, and Nova and all the other characters was in the franchise. The Friend's other older two kids were in it. April was pregnant with a little girl, at the end of the movie, and of course she had Friend's brother-in-law, and sister. The Vivica A. Fox character was in there as well. I should mention when they went to the Old West, you see Vivica A. Fox, the Sky, in there. You also had like a reunion. That's about all the except for David Hasselhoff. He wasn't in it. But you have Olivia Newton-John, who of course was in there as well. So just about all the characters, pretty much, for the whole movie series. At least through the first three movies anyway, were in that final scene at Finn's bar, which you didn't see again after the first movie because it was destroyed in the first movie. On Finn's bar, and gave a toast, and Finn gave a big toast to everybody because we want to close up the bar, where Finn was, and move to the Midwest where he's going farming equipment like chainsaws, because it's famous for the chainsaws, using chainsaws throughout the whole movie series. And it was a nice send-off. I mean, you knew it was going to be the last one. I had a feeling, I heard or saw stories online that this was going to be the last movie, and I think maybe because of the fact that the last couple of movies that they came out with, the ratings have gone down. The TV ratings for Sharknado have gone down. But it has been a successful movie series for the Sci-Fi Channel. I think it also might be the end of the Shark Week stuff, because most of the movies the Sci-Fi Channel has aired this week, which just ended yesterday, most of them were reruns of previous films, and the films were getting sillier and sillier and dumber, and they had one movie like Six-Headed Shark Attack, which I didn't review, but I saw it. That movie was like so bad it made Jaws 3D look like Titanic by comparison. I mean that's how bad these movies were. They were getting worse and worse and worse. You can see the same thing with the Sharknado movies as well. But nobody expected Sharknado to be this big 6-movie franchise for the Sci-Fi Channel. Even Ian Ziering, who was originally offered the script for Sharknado back in 2013, 5 years ago, maybe even 2012, because I think they made a film in 2012 for the 2013 airing, original airing in 2013, I should say, and he didn't want to do it because he thought it was dumb. But Ian Ziering's wife also read the script, and it says to him, do it. It could be a big hit. So his wife was smaller than a lot of people thought, because she predicted it could be a big hit, and it was a huge ratings blockbuster in the first movie, and a lot of people was talking about, got a lot of internet buzz on Twitter and Facebook and everything else. So they made a whole franchise of it. I mean, the second one had a lot of cameos in the second one, and I think the second one may be even better than the first one of all the movies. And I'm planning to do a review or redo the review of the first two Sharknado movies, because I did the two of them as a combined one whole video, which I wasn't that satisfied with. So maybe I did a full review of the other Sharknado films. So please check them out if you haven't seen them. But I haven't done a proper review of the first Sharknado movie or the second one, and I am planning to do that sometime down the line, this week, hopefully. But it's sad to see that the end of the Sharknado franchise, because the last few years I have been, every August I've been looking forward to seeing what will be next in the Sharknado franchise, because it has been funny. It is silly, it's dumb, it's crazy, it's fun to see this film with the cheesy special effects, but it's also fun to see who gets it next in these movies. I mean, who's going to get it next in the Sharknado films? But other than Steve Sanders, this is the only role that Ian Ziering is famous for, and fun to see him do another movies of Sharknado, and it was a great ending to this franchise. So this is my review of the last Sharknado. It's about time, otherwise known as Sharknado 6. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video to your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel, rowdyc.com, that's all WDY, and C.com, that's the homepage of the reviewer. Chris Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.